Go ahead.
I just wanted, Kathy Lodge, 257 Monument Drive. I just wanted to say that that study was done by health experts, so I'm really surprised that she could get it.
Sure.
The map that I was holding was Smith Township, and it was more than anything just a visual. Obviously, Mark West doesn't care, but for the residents' sake, so that we see. And I have to tell you that when I went to the DEP and saw their documents, there was a map that they just did themselves, a hand-drawn map, and it kind of gave you their little visual, and it had arrows that the Houston plant was 8 miles away, the axis was just up the road this way. And so that's where the idea came from, is to use the DEP's own data to give a visual, because most people don't see these. And you might see it as you drive by or see the rig as it's there, but I think that we all need to realize, stop putting the blinders on, and this is all out there, and if it's going to be out there, at least it should be permitted in such a way that it's not causing the most damage, because they're in clusters. It's not a grid like Texas has, it's cluster grids. And I don't know, I'm not a health expert, so I don't know the damage that that could cause, but...
Is the map that you had in your hand
map I held
different than the one that she had?
Yes, she had the Robinson Township's zoning map, and I had Smith Township's, and again, that was DEP's permitted sites. And one thing that I want to bring to attention, and this is not DEP's, or this is not Mark West's, well, let me just put it this way. When they make submittals, there's an issue with names. There's an issue with addresses. And I have found a number of cases where when they, Mark West or any of the other companies, apply for a permit, they call it a name and then they give it some sort of address. Well, it's vague and it's hard to understand, it's hard to follow, and it's also inaccurate. And so I started watching and seeing permits as they were arising, and they're very close to each other. And so one road in particular is Point Pleasant in Smith Township, and it has a compressor station on it. And then down the road, another compressor station on it, but that's listed as Pleasant Street in Bulger, not Point Pleasant in Smith Township. And so there's discrepancy, and people, that's why the visual, again, people need to be aware that these things are out there, and it may not be the best for our health to have them all so close proximity. So now I'm going to read my comments.
Okay.
Okay. Over the past several months, we have watched Mark West try to confuse Robinson Township and Washington County. They began by notifying the township and county of proposed activity by sending an Act 14 notice, but addressed the site as being located in Butler County. No one at the township building caught this mistake. Mark West requested rezoning a massive area of land in the southern part of the township to industrial, even though there is nearly 1,000 acres already zoned industrial to the north by the highway. Then they presented plans to build a compressor station. They misled the public on that. They continually stated that they would only house 4 engines. What they really mean to build is a complex housing 2 massive compressor stations with at least 12 engines. Even the PADEP considers this, in their own emails, the largest compressor pad they've ever seen. Mark West received state earth moving permits for Imperial Compressor Station and Cybus Compressor Station. Then Mark West's Rob McHale confused matters by flipping the names. Gateway engineers are involved with the confusion too. So at the township level, the names are opposite of what their state permits say. McHale told me that he had a private meeting with Roger Kendall, Aaron Skalik, and Gretchen Moore to change the names, but never told the public. Did Mark West even correctly subdivide the land where these compressor stations are to go? Considering it involved more than 3 parcels, was this done as a major subdivision? Supervisors have a duty to protect the residents of the township by making all follow township ordinances. This is true for industry as well. The name game that Mark West is playing is inexcusable and unprofessional. Also, the piecemealing and improper subdivision is questionable. Does Mark West even have to have the state and federal permits they are required, which we've heard they don't, or some of them they do not. The past board insisted that the company Range Resource specify exactly where Roger Kendall's well pad was to be constructed before they would agree to approve a conditional use permit. Mr. Duran and Mr. Kendall repeatedly criticized the past board. Perhaps that board was simply just doing their job. So why isn't the board requiring full disclosure from, this board requiring full disclosure from Mark West? Why the double standard? Why didn't Mr. McHale publicly explain their reason for switching the names prior to this hearing? I urge the board to vote no on this permit. The company has not fully disclosed their entire industrial footprint. They should wait until Mark West has an air permit issued by the PADEP, which on their own admission shows that this project shall not pose a threat to us. However, if they must vote yes, please include the same conditions imposed by Cecil Township. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there somebody else that would like to testify? All right, Mrs. Vance, you have the study, so that was exhibit AA. We want to make sure that Mark West gets a copy here at some point. All right, and then somebody else prepared to speak at this time?
Karen Brockman. Say again. Brockman, B-R-O-C-K-A-N, first name. 422 Prospect Street, Midway, PA.
Okay, so are you in Midway, or is that a borough?
Yeah, Midway.
Okay, and that's, my understanding from the planning commission meeting was that, I think somebody from Midway, I can't remember who that was testified, it was just the Midway is in close proximity to this project.
Yes, that's what I understand.
Could you just, I'm not sure that I understand that, could you just show me on one of these drawings up here
Brenda, can you show
where it is?
This compression station will be approximately 1,000 feet on average from my house. And this compression station is at the very lowest point of Brockman Township. Right smack beside, the impact will be to Midway, and perhaps going to go on to the ocean on the back.
So you live, how close, you say it's?
1,000 feet, 4 houses in.
Okay.
I can, with my kids, for a baseball shit, but good times. Very, very close. It probably, with the testing that Brenda gave you, you can see that how far away you live from a compression station depends on the number of people that get sick, which don't make sense. And so that's why I'm very concerned. There's a 4-type sample.
And you're just, I think it's self-evident, but the one that's being proposed right now is closer to Midway than the one that was approved in May.
Yeah, but they're only like, what, 500 feet apart, if that.
Okay.
There'll be one large, like she said, we have the email that says this is the largest compression station that we've never seen.
Someone from Need, who said that.
Probably too, but like she said, we're getting everything from Allegheny County, which is the airport, you know, that makes it huge. And again, Midway's gonna take the brunt of this because we're right there. And Robertson Township won't get any of it. Allegheny County won't get any of it. I mean, it's going to stay right here, you know, in our little town where they're gonna take it, you know, for everybody else. And they say that the air pollution, and that I have a question. Let me read this to you first, so that we're clear. And I have a copy of this to give to you. Each branch of the government is required to consider, in advance of proceeding, the environmental effect of any proposed action on the constitutionality protected features. The Constitution obligation binds all government, state and local concurrently. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled in the Robertson Township versus Commonwealth, and I've got this little number behind it. Yeah, you know that.
We know it.
You share the responsibility to uphold this Constitution. Now, I'm concerned that in meetings that I've attended and other projects and that I have not seen any evidence that this board has required documentation to study any studies, any environmental studies, or studies that address health impacts for this facility. At the very least, the board should have required much more factual and complete information from the applicant. Because there remain many questions about the impacts to our health, and the applicant has never shown their entire proposed industrial footprint, this permit should not go through and should be denied.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here, it's the short emails.
I know you're not marking it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just for. Just the emails.
I do want to see that.
What is that?
Emails. Here, I'll show you.
Are those the emails that you referenced from the DEP?
Yes, they are.
Okay, well, why don't we put that, since you talked about them, why don't we mark, yeah, why don't we mark that, show it to Mr. Ness, show it to Mr. Nestor. All right. She could do this job.
Round one.
All right, it's a two-page document, and it does appear to have emails from DEP. Looks like they're all dated on May 1st of 2015. So we'll mark this as Exhibit CC, and this is the emails. Oh, did you decide not to submit the map?
I have to get a copy of it.
All right, well, we'll keep that as BB. This email thing will be CC. Have you seen it yet, Mr. Nestor? And if people have an objection to it, just state it.